Hello all, Old Geek here, and I have in front of me a copy of White Dwarf magazine. This is December/January 1979-1980. Issue number 16, still costing 60 pence. And before you think to yourself, that's two White Dwarfs in a row. I've done this on purpose. I want to get White Dwarf completed up until the end of 1979. I'm then going to get Dragon completed up until the end of 1979. And then I'm going to take a break of a month or two from reading through magazines to maybe focus on other topics for a little while. Just to get myself out of the somewhat lazy rut of thinking, what am I going to do for the channel today? I'll read through a magazine. So I'm thinking of doing something different for a few months. Let's see how it goes. Right, cover. This is a very, very much loved copy of issue number 16, isn't it? Look at that. It's all frayed and well. Yeah, so whoever scanned this loved their copy. Loved their copy. There's even a tear down there. The cover art, I like it. I like it. That's a big evil ogre, troll, thing, demon, whatever, with two blades. And that is a angry looking barbarian working himself into a frenzy with his hair, black hair all flaying, and his axe and a sword at his side and a shield. Yeah, I like it. I like that cover. I think that's the sort of cover you want on a magazine. It's exciting, it's well drawn, and yeah, good, good. Don't particularly like this lettering down here though. Doesn't stand out. Doesn't stand out. We've got Paths of the Lil, Gamma World Scenario, and Chronicle Monsters, Thomas Covenant in D&D. I don't know anything about Thomas Covenant, but let's see what the monsters are like. Peace on Earth, goodwill through the galaxy. Of course, this is the Christmas issue. Bringing gifts. Nice little piece of art. That's a decent advert. It doesn't tell you anything that they sell, but it attracts you to it. This looks like an old railway engine style thing, nameplate. But yeah, well, it's a model workshop, that's why. I think it tells you enough, and it offers you a free post-free mail order throughout the UK, and I can't read that. Catalogue, 50 pence. That's all right. Adverts, Avalon Hill adverts, fantastic FGU Fantasy Games Unlimited, Star Trek miniatures. Some of you sci-fi fans would probably like these. They're not for me. They're 50p for two. I don't know what half these things are. Sorry, I'm really quite sad. More adverts. Dungeon Hobby Shop. That's been in RPG news in recent years. Not always for the right reasons. Right, what have we got? In White Dwarf 7, we printed our first questionnaire in an attempt to steer the magazine in the direction of its readers' wishes. Well, we must have done something right for White Dwarf to be voted Best Games Magazine in the recent Games Day Awards. See page 20. But since the original questionnaire, the readership has doubled, and I'm sure our new readers will have a few things to say about the content of White Dwarf. Well, I had a few things to say about the content of the last issue of White Dwarf, didn't I? Because it wasn't very good. So hopefully this Christmas edition, hopefully Santa's sack will be bulging with lots of new stuff that will tempt me back in. Let's see what we've got. Chronicle Monsters, Expanding Universe, Boot Hill, Paths of the Lil, Games Day, and White Dwarf Questionnaire. You can see there's a spread there already. You've got D&D, you've got Traveller, Wild West, and Gamma World. So they're trying to cover 4 different games. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's a games magazine, it's not a D&D magazine. So just hoping it doesn't suffer because White Dwarf is typically 28 or 32 pages. I think this one is 32, but that's where Dragon's got the jump because it's 48 plus now. It can add in a bit more, can't it? Then we've got the usual features. Here we have Chronicle Monsters by Lewis Pulsifer. Now, I don't know the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, so compared favourably with Tolkien's familiar Lord of the Rings in scope, originality, and profusion of imagination. Okay, that's a big recommendation. Have any of you ever read it? Let me know. Let me know. So what we got? The Raver. Now, I went to university in 1990, and late 80s, early 90s. Raver. Glow sticks. Gormless expressions. Because they've taken something. Repetitive music that gives you a headache. That's what I think of. That's what I think when I hear Raver. Rather than a fairly potent monster which can possess you by the looks of things. Yeah, they used to dance like they were possessed. Potent, they weren't. They weren't at all. But nice to see they've got a proper level XP value rather than a monster mark. Look, there. Look, look. Yeah. That's how it should be. Evil Cormorant. Evil bird. Now, cormorants are members of same family as the shags. Would you get away with having a monster called Evil Shag? Ervile. It's Ross Nicholson artwork. I've just realised. Ross Nicholson artwork. Good. I like Ross Nicholson. I know he's got his own style. They're very wiry, but they're quite disturbing and pleasant. And I rather like it. They look horrific. And this Ervile certainly does look horrific. I thought it was going to be a small creature then, like a Svefneblin or a Svart. But no, size medium. It's a medium-sized humanoids. I like their name, Erviles. Ramen, killer noodles. Vials, Waynim, Cave Whites. That image there is classic Nicholson. Sea Reach Giants. I'm sure I've seen this image somewhere before. Was it reused or something similar? There was certainly another giant that had a very similar image. Jeherin, Unfettered Ones, Koresh, Ranahan. Yeah, interesting names. Moving on. Expanding Universe. Andy Slack. Suggested additions to Traveller Rules Part 4. Okay. Were the original Traveller Rules lacking or something that they needed 4 parts of suggested additions? Don't know. Never played it. Not my thing. But I'll pause on that here so that people who like it can have a read. I've just seen this. Special levels of social status. Social status situation. -5 or less. Condemned to death. That fits in with what I've heard about Traveller character creation and how nasty it is. I appear to have a bird on my roof that is agreeing with me. Yes. Chirpy, chirpy, chirp to you too. We look at the news. Hopefully by the time this White Dwarf is published, the long-awaited advanced... Hang on, DMG. Thought it had already been released. After its initial release at Gen Con in August, an incredible demand which sold out the first print run in a few weeks, disaster struck. I didn't know this. The second print run was ruined by the printers who managed to collate some monster manual pages into the DM's guide. I've heard all sorts of stories about printer cock-ups, but aren't the odd versions that were cocked up worth a bit? Dunno. Have you got one? And in addition to the bird, there's now somebody mowing their lawn outside, but hopefully with this microphone, you won't be able to hear it too intrusively. Boot Hill. Suggested time and place for these encounter tables is 1870 to 1875, in the area where Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico meet. Right. Howdy, partner. So these are, these sort of things, suggested encounter tables. I mean, I do wonder why does the game not have them? I don't know. But these are sort of things that do come in really, really useful. You can change up what might be monotonous ones that you've been using. And here's a single page. There you go. There you go. And of course, as I've said, I've never played Boot Hill, but I love the Wild West because it's such an alien concept to a stuffy Brit like me. Um, I never watched many westerns. I watched the odd one. I mean, seen a few: Outlaw Josie Wales, True Grit, things like that, and I, Tombstone, one of my favourite films. I used to watch things like The Lone Ranger on television as well. So yeah, there is that spark of mystery because, of course, in Britain we had the Victorian era. What hair? Yes, upper class. Yeah, well, put the lower class scum in the workhouses, and let Jack the Ripper deal with them. I'm not saying they did that. I'm not saying they did that at all. Okay, open box. We have a review of Boot Hill. A solid 8 out of 10. Good. Imperium. It's a space game. Obviously not my sort of thing. 9 out of 10. Ooh, without exception, the best game of its kind I've seen to date. And it's a valuable addition to any gamer's library. So I want to know, have you played Boot Hill? Have you played Imperium? Is it worth this 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10? Obviously, I think in the context of 1979. Snapshot. Game for 2 or more players simulating man-to-man and man-to-monster combat. Okay, that gets 8 as well. So, looks like that was good as well. Doesn't sound like my sort of thing. This is my sort of thing. Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm going to read this whole review for your enjoyment. To review a product, book, game, module properly, the reviewer should be intimately familiar with it. Correct. Such cannot be the case here. Is it because you didn't get a copy? And you get to wait for your copy like the rest of the Brits. Such cannot be the case here if I were to postpone writing a review of the DMG until I'd read every word. Yeah, it's a big book, small type, lots of pages. And become familiar with everything, you would be waiting some time. So this must be a first impression. Okay, fair enough. This long-awaited TSR product is physically excellent. Well over 200 pages, yeah, of fine but legible print. When you were young, yes. When you're old, you strain a bit. Good, though hardly exceptional artwork. Look, there are images in that book which really have stood the test of time. A Miracle Chaotic, for example. So, yeah, there's some odd little bits, but no, I thought the artwork, I love the artwork in that book. Hardback format which will stand the test of many years of thumbing. Correct. I've never seen a Dungeon Master's Guide fall apart unless it's been really badly mistreated. I've got a very solid one on the shelf over there. Not Unearthed Arcana. As for its contents, where do I begin? Offhand, I would say that only the most severe critic could point at a minor omission, let alone a serious one. Though, as I said before, my study can hardly be regarded as exhaustive. As for compatibility with earlier AD&D works, again, I cannot find any problem, and again must add the same caution. They stuffed a lot in that book. There's one curiosity which relates to the combat tables and to the sneak preview of those tables which has appeared in both Dragon and White Dwarf. In the previews, monks use the same combat matrix as thieves and assassins. In the Dungeon Master's Guide proper, monks use the same combat matrix as clerics and druids. Yeah, they changed that, didn't they, between the original publication of the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide. And it was a sensible change. Sorry, magazines, but they did the right thing. Because if the monk is handicapped with the thief and assassin attack tables, then a lot of the monk's powers become a lot less effective. I mean, monks get melee bonuses. They've got that movement bonus. They're meant to be hit and run. They're meant to get in there and get out. They're meant to be mage slayers. They're meant to be good at, missile fire, where they can parry missiles and fire back. And yes, they start with very few weapons, but they pick up weapons quite quickly. So they are a combat-orientated class, in my opinion, but they're one where you've got to use combat very, very intelligently. And I think they should have I think cleric and druids attack tables is correct. But it's strange to say the least that the change took place so late as to be omitted from the preview. Well, maybe they decided late. After all, the preview appeared only a couple of months before the DMG itself. Well, maybe they decided on that change just before. I mean, and you got to remember they weren't doing this in a digital age, so difficult. Some of the contents will no doubt be regarded as spurious by some AD&D fans. In my own case, I won't be using the sections about outdoor adventures. Why not? For instance, but the contents which I regard as discardable will vary from reader to reader and from DM to DM, so it's quite hopeless for me to try to guess. Correct. I mean, I've never used the aerial combat stuff. I've rarely used psionics, and I've never used the conversions between other games. But it's in there for people who want to use it. There's plenty in there to use, plenty of real goodness. In the end, set the task of reviewing something to which I know I cannot do justice. All I can say is, can you afford to be without it? Overall, not applicable. The answer to that is no. To this day, and rightfully so, it is highly regarded because it is such an inspirational book. Yes, the layout is a pile of poo, but it's just because they tried to copy the layout and the order of chapters of the Player's Handbook, and to me, it didn't work. But there's all sorts of rules hidden away, and there are a few errors in there. The writing of initiative and surprise is awful, and there's an error on the surprise table, and yeah, there are contradictions, but it doesn't matter because there is so much in there to get the imagination juices going. It's 45 years, I had to check the year, 45 years since it was released, and it's still highly regarded. One of my favourite books now is the 7th edition Keeper's book for Call of Cthulhu. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful book. Will it be looked back on in the same way in 45 years' time? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's a beautiful book, and it's really, really well done. But is it going to affect the industry in the same way as the Dungeon Master's Guide did? No. Moving on. Paths of the Lille by James Ward. I now have a pigeon on my roof. What is it about my roof today? So, I don't know anything about Gamma World, so I'm going to be skipping past it, but I like the fact that there's a scenario in here. The scenarios are good. That's what you want. They give you ideas. Even if you don't use it as is off the page, they give you ideas. Right. Fiend Factory. I looked straight away to see if there was Monster Mark this time, and there is. Tensor Beast, a monster made based on Tensor's floating disc. Attacks like a sword of sharpness? Ouch! Not a lot of hit dice, but clearly lethal with a really good armor class. Moves very quickly. Nasty. Man Scorpion. Again, another good armor class. With poison as well. Wasn't there? No. I like the idea of a man scorpion, and I'm sure there was an image of a man scorpion in X4, Master of the Desert Nomads, but I think sadly it was an illusion. So no such monster in there, which is a shame. But man scorpion, good idea. Ogress. Offspring of distasteful liaisons between male ogres and human females. Yeah, we'll move on. Plant Man. Plant-human mutation. Very big. Don't like the art. I do like the Russ Nicholson art for all the others. Wrecker. Specialised iron golems. They guard the great magical artifacts of the world. If they're so unique, why are there only 48 plus 1 hit points? Good armour class. Look at that damage. 1 to 20, 1 to 20. Don't think this is the best of monsters. And To be honest, with the exception of the man scorpion, and if I wanted to disturb the player characters, the ogress, I probably wouldn't use these. Yeah, it's not the greatest of Fiend Factories. Not too much imagination gone on there. Games Day 5. On 20th October 1979, some 4,000 people converged on the Royal Horticultural Hall in London. Thus, a record was set by making Games Day the highest one-day attended games convention in the world. Obviously, that's been superseded by now, but that's brilliant. Brilliant. And there's some pictures of people enjoying Games Day, nerds in their natural environment. And here we have the Games Day Awards. Let me guess. D&D, Monopoly, Kingmaker. I remember playing that. D&D, White Dwarf, Valpartha, Avalon Hill winning Best Games Publisher, TSR Hobbies in third, gnashing of teeth and tables flipped in Lake Geneva. Gary Gygax, Best Games Inventor, Citadel Miniatures, Best Games Personality, Charles Vasey. Sorry, Charles, but I've never heard of you. If you know of Charles Vasey and want to save me Googling his name, then say so in the comments below. Treasure chest. Potions. Dragon Breath Potion. I'm not sure the mechanics will be the same, but didn't this become pretty much canon in D&D? Sort of in the 90s-ish? Remember them being in Baldur's Gate. Potion of Mind Rest. Potion of Truth. Yes, you could always have some fun with something like that. Let's have a read of it. The player has to answer in absolute truth. A possible sad example. Huge Troll Chieftain. Oh, tasty little hobbit. Am I not the most handsome of all creatures? Trapped Hobbit Thief. Actually, I think you are so disgustingly ugly that it's hard to see your blackheads for your acne. And I wouldn't be surprised if flies drop dead on contact with your filthy skin. And I bet you can't see your feet because of your fat stomach. And ah! Yes. Yes. That's the sort of thing I like to see. Lots of ideas. Potions of greed and self-restraint. Interesting. Yeah. Letters page. I'm thinking for spell designs. Something about burning oil. Something about the interview with Gary Gygax. Moaning about the criticism of Fiend Factory. Another one moaning about the criticism of Fiend Factory. I don't think Fiend Factory's as strong as it was when it started. I think it's been weak lately. I mean, can't remember the exact details of that criticism, but I'm criticising it now. Just before I skip on to the next page. In response to the interview with Gary Gygax in White Dwarf and to the brief warning in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide pertaining to material satisfactory for use with AD&D, I feel bound to restore the confidence of the fan magazine. Yeah, of course, Gygax laid into fanzines, didn't he? And I think we need to remember Gygax had these sort of two fronts. There was the Gygax the gamer, and there was the Gygax the businessman. And the Gygax the businessman had the job of promoting AD&D and selling it. So he would be there saying, play AD&D, these are the rules, play AD&D. But there's always little snippets tucked in there saying, but of course you can do what you want. And I think Gygax the gamer was different. I think Gygax the gamer didn't mind. But the key there is, I think you need to know the core rules before you start adding in extra material, whether it be homebrew or from magazine. And all I'm going to say to that is Unearthed Arcana, Gary Gygax. Games clubs. And this is the questionnaire. Give ratings out of 10 for the following departmental features. Fiend Factory. I would have given that an 8 a few issues back, but now it's going to be a 6. Treasure chest, an open box. Yeah, these are key features. Reviews and ideas. Yeah, we like those sort of things. So 8s and 9s. I think the reviews are pretty good. Just wish there was a bit more of them. And ideas, added stuff for gaming is always good. Molten Magic. No, that's just where it prints pictures of miniatures. Get rid of it. Letters page. Yeah, I like it. So look at, I think Treasure Chest and Open Box both 8, Molten Magic 0. Letters page I think is necessary. I like to see the Nerd Rage, so I'll give that a 7. News, yeah, they're on the ball with news. 8. Help and clubs, yeah, 8. I mean, overall, I think in general White Dwarf is pretty good. Molten Magic, get rid of it. Give a percentage breakdown for your idea of the perfect content of White Dwarf. Role-playing games, and more role-playing games. Thank you very much. Obviously, I know that it can't be that, but I'd put 100 there. Give a percentage breakdown for your idea of the perfect article balance of the role-playing games. The only game of those I've played is Dungeons and Dragons, and now obviously I'd want to see Call of Cthulhu. I'd want to see Car Wars. I'd want to see Paranoia. I'd want to see MERP. I want to see those sort of things come in, because those are other games that I have played and enjoyed a lot. There are other games I've played a fair bit. Not a fair bit, but other games I've dabbled with, such as The One Ring, Marvel Superheroes. The ones I can see for now. I've tried other ones. And thinking back to 1979, or my early days in the 80s, I'd have just gone D&D for this, 100% D&D. But obviously, it's got to be a balance. It's got to be a balance. So, no, 100% D&D. I'm thinking of it as a youngster reading this. What would I really want to see? 50-50 D&D, Call of Cthulhu. 40-40, 20 on other things. There we go. That's my compromise. Percentage breakdown for each type preferred. D&D mini dungeons, of course, of those. But of course, if it was there, I'd add in Call of Cthulhu scenarios. Would you like a question and answers page? These days, no. Back in when this was released, knowing how the DMG was written, knowing how AD&D was written, yes, yeah, of course, necessary. Would you like a comic strip? No. The best thing in White Dwarf is scenarios. The worst thing in White Dwarf is Monster Mark. Best article that appeared in White Dwarf was? Don't know off the top of my head. I think White Dwarf could be improved by kicking Monster Mark into touch. Yes. And making it bigger. Go up to 48 pages, even if it has to be 8 more pages of adverts and only 8 more pages of articles. In those 8 pages, you could do 2 or 3 more articles. And that means you could have multiple articles on a system in a magazine, which makes it feel better value for money. Even if you have to push the price up to 75p, 80p, even £1, people will pay it for good quality stuff. There's the help. And we finish up with more adverts. Right. Opinions. A 32-page issue, this one. Quite a lot of ads towards the end. Doesn't matter. Weren't too many at the start. In other words. I mean, this magazine's about half ads, isn't it? But I accept. They've got to make money. Opinions. Much better than the previous issue. Things in this issue feel more relevant. I like the fact they've added a scenario, even if it's a Gamma World one, which I don't play. I'd of course have a read through it, see if it's got any ideas that I like. I like the fact that there's extra monsters put in here, like the potions and the magic items, all that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, it feels like there's a better balance to this one. It feels like the articles have got a bit more to them, and even though Monster Mark's a bit meh. So yeah, this is better. This is better. This is a return to form, and indeed, Santa does have some gifts in his sack for the Christmas of 1979. I've been the Old Geek. Thank you for watching. See you later.